Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. I am with Sarah Holmes, and Sarah is an author in the Beyond the Shift Volume 1 book. I am so excited to be able to have this conversation. We've gotten to know each other fairly well over it's been over a year.
Over a year for
When we
sure.
started this project together in 2023, and it is a beautiful volume, and I absolutely love the story that you wrote, but we'll get a little bit into that. First of all, Sarah, I would love for you to introduce yourself, tell everybody all the magic about yourself.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome here. It was an absolute pleasure to be co-author in this book. So my name is Sarah Holmes, and I am the founder of Essential Wellness Within Yoga Studio and Meditation Wellness Studio here in Queensland in Australia. So, which has been up and running for now about 2 months. So it's super exciting, and yeah, it's always been a long dream.
Yeah, I was
So
just going to say, we were just talking about it just a little bit, that it has been a lifelong dream, and the magic that you went through to create your studio, it's beautiful. Give people a little, if you can turn your,
oh, there we go. So
yeah.
this is just the actual studio. What what is so important in, especially when we talk about the language, right, is your internal language, is what about you wanting to actually create. And I didn't disappoint myself at all. I had the vision, I knew exactly what I wanted. So it's not actually just this room, it goes beyond this room. I've created two other rooms, a kitchen, and so that I can bring in other modalities. What's super, super special, there's two things that are super special here. In the walls, I created all the walls because there was no walls here. And in the walls, I put all crystals in. So it keeps this space like really super clean. And the flooring that you see through the mirrors is actually mats. So they're really supportive for everybody's well-being. So yeah, those are the things that were super, super important to me as well. Yeah.
This sponge floor.
Yeah, so they're like gym mats.
Mhm.
So, and everybody that comes in, because you don't realize it because they look like wooden floors, and people come in, they take their shoes off, and that's the first thing they do is they inhale and exhale and go, landed. And that is exactly how I vision people coming into my studio.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's always been a dream for me to be able to have a place that holds all the modalities that I've learned over my years, to bring them all together and to be of service.
And
It's,
what are some of those modalities, if you want to share that?
yeah, yeah, I'd love to. So, gosh, where did I start? So, I started off as like personal training. So, everything's always been around the body. So, I started off in personal training, worked my way through being a Reiki master, and then went on to do biodynamic cranial sacral therapy. That was a huge three plus year course. And I know they're like biodynamic cranial sacral therapy. People are like, what? But it's really working with the cranium and the sacrum and working with basically your inner language of your body, I could say that, and working with the breath of life and working with all your traumas, all your held memories and beliefs and constructs within the body, which I absolutely love. And then moved into other areas working with the body for like spinal energetics, spinal flow. Meditation has been with me the whole journey, going in and out of meditations. My last learnings in meditations with, I don't know if you know this guy called David G.
Oh, yeah,
He's
I
an
do.
yeah. So
Mhm.
I learned with David G, a company called Unplug Meditation. That was awesome. So I love his teachings. So yeah, so I've been able to bring this all together, and just recently I've learned breath work, and but in a more controlled, how do you say, a trauma-informed breath work. So it really keeps people safe. So that's been really super cool, and starting to hold some workshops here and some gatherings, which has always been a love of mine. So I bring all those kind of modalities in a blend that's really specific to each person that I meet, and depending on what their needs are, I guide myself and with them, and yeah, we we open up the space for that.
No, that's super cool. And I feel like you touch people at such a deep core level in your work, and so gently, like you can tell just by your the aura that you have around you, that you are just so calming and so sweet and lovely. Yeah. And
Yeah, it is.
you're also, now you're an author, and
Yes.
your chapter in this book is called The Power of Language and the Meaning You Give It. And both Sarah and I have this deep love for language,
Mm.
and the knowing the importance and the meaning of words, and being able to understand within yourself what you're actually creating by the language that you use internally and externally. And you go deep into this in your chapter. And one of the things that I love in your book is that you always kind of keep it heart-centered. Like throughout your writing, you're just bringing people back into their heart in each conversation that you talk about in your story. And and some of them are challenging. Like you have, would you mind sharing one of the stories the one that comes to mind is that when you were first starting to write and you wrote a word incorrectly,
Yes,
what
thank
that.
you. That was exactly where I was going, because that one was something that I even worked on a lot during all my own trauma-informed work as I started to go and see people. That I would always feel stuck. Why am I always stuck? I can't seem to do this. I can't seem to do that. And as I grew in understanding myself, I had this memory that came forth, and it was with my grandparents. And I can't remember exactly how old I was now, maybe about 8 or something. And I often would go to my grandparents' place, like most of us probably did, and I would just start drawing. They would just always put some paper down, because we didn't have all the technology we have today to distract us. So I would colour, I would draw. I loved drawing. I really, really loved it. And I didn't really have an awareness of whether I was good at it or not. I don't remember that. I just remember drawing. And I wanted to write on the bottom of it, coloured by Sarah. And I wrote the word coloured incorrectly. And it was, and when I showed it to my grandparents, the first thing that actually happened was they noticed that I'd spelt the word incorrectly. And that was their focus on me. Not that about the picture, whether it was, beautiful or not beautiful, but it was very apparent that had a huge impact on me in that moment. All I wanted to do was screw it all up and throw it away. That ignited a bit of shame and a bit of sadness and not good enough. I just remember that was a pivotal moment in my life then. And that said, it has nothing really to do with my grandparents. I'm very aware of that they, whatever was going on, like she doesn't know how to spell it. They could have been in panic. Oh my gosh, we've got to help her. They could have been thinking that way. But for me, in my own experience, it was very, very, and it stopped me from sharing. It stopped me from writing. It stopped me from writing things down and sharing. It stopped me from using my voice. It stopped me asking for help. It was very apparent that bled through my younger years. Yeah.
And it speaks directly to the subtitle of your chapter, which is you gave it one meaning, your grandparents likely gave it a completely different meaning.
Correct. Totally.
And we do that all the time with the things that are said to us, that we take on and we internalize them and we take them personally. And the things that we also say, like I noticed in my life that there was many times when I would say something, and in my mind I would say, I didn't mean to say that. Like that's actually not what I wanted to say at all. And
Yeah.
sometimes I would say, I didn't actually mean to say that. And
Yeah.
sometimes it was hurtful, and it was too, it's like you want to just call it back. You want to
Yeah.
call the words back.
You want to highlight it, press delete. You can't do that. You're like, hang on a minute, rewind. Yeah, and sometimes we've said things that are meaningful to hurt somebody else because we're hurting,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
there's so many deeper layers to that as well in what I've learned, and certainly the meaning that we give things is huge, huge. And until we basically, what I've learned is until we're basically all in agreement with it, it doesn't have any meaning. Our mobile phones is a mobile phone because we all agree on that. We agree to that. So yeah, so until we stop agreeing on things, can it change? Yeah.
And what was one of you gave quite a few tools in your chapter of ways to acknowledge and to shift and to notice the words that you're saying. And then you had some tools in there. Want to share one of those tools? One of the ones that
Yeah.
is your magic.
Yeah, my magic wand. I love that one like so much. I still share that to this day, because everything I do in my practice when I'm here teaching yoga or when I'm meditating is really purposeful. I really allow the language to be what it is. I don't think about it too much, but to allow it to sink in. So I share this one a lot, especially in meditation. So what I've shared is when you have a thought that is not really serving you, like, you know, when you do stuff, it's sometimes so automatic, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm so stupid, right? Or when you drop something or you've forgotten something again, like, something like that. The first thing you do is tell yourself off. The first thing you do is go into that internal language and blame yourself, right? And as soon as you recognize that, when you learn how to recognize that, when you learn how to cultivate that, you can go, oh, you can just like see it for what it is, and you get a little wand. You can create your own wand, be really imaginative. I love it. And you just ping it, you pop it and you replace it with another word. I'm learning to get better. I'm learning to, be more mindful. Or I'm getting better at this. You know, like when you're learning something and you're frustrated and you're like, I'm never going to get it. I'm so stupid. That the flood of information comes in. They always said I was no good. They never said I would. All that stuff comes in. You just want to be able to go, whoo, hang on a second. Let it all sit there and go, I'm just going to change you, ping, and say words like, I'm getting better at this. I'm learning.
Yeah. I'm in the process of, I like that one. I'm in the process of
I'm in the
doing this.
process of, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And it really is a case of replacing. It's a replacing. And I like to use my imagination a lot. And because I believe that's really part of source of creation. And yeah, I just ping them. If I find myself doing that, I laugh. But I don't also, it's like I still bring it in with love,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? Let's not treat that part of us like it's a dark energy or anything like that. Let's still love that.
Mhm.
Let's still bring that in like you would a child and say, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
I got you, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so that's one of the tools I share a lot, and it's instant because that is for me one you can do anywhere, and nobody will know you're doing it.
Mhm.
You just
Yeah.
that wasn't very kind to myself. I'm gonna change that.
Yeah. And they're also parts of ourselves that are younger, right? So it's a learned behavior from childhood. For most of us, the conversations that we have internally are started like yours did with your grandparents as a child, and then it just gets reinforced and it becomes that subconscious that you don't even hear it,
You don't even hear it.
unaware of it until we start looking for it, until
Yeah.
we start
It will
matching.
start changing it. Start changing that language, Pamela. Once we start to change it, we don't become aware of it. We just think that's our norm and that's our identity. And it's actually not. It's not your identity. And you have the power to change it at any point. You just need to be willing. Need to be willing to change it. There's like a story of a young girl, if I may share. And she's the youngest in the family, and she's always in a pretty dress and a bow on a Sunday. All the family come to visit her. This is a way that I would explain that how it kind of can get embedded and how we can make assumptions and put meaning to things. And the family always come, and she's always greeted at the door. She looks awesomely pretty, and she's the niece and the granddaughter, and they come in and they cheek it. You're so cute, you're so cute, and she's just like feeling the love. She's full of the love. She's just like, I know. Look at your little bow. It looks so nice. Like you would if you see a young girl, right? You just praise them with their beauty. And a short time later, the parents had another baby. So the same thing happened on the Sunday. She's in her dress, looking really beautiful, and all the people just rush in, all the family rush in, and she's like, that moment, she made the decision unknowingly, there's something wrong with me, right? But really, all it was where they were so eager to see the new baby, and it wasn't that at all. So that's just a small snapshot of how that gets embedded very, then she'll be thinking, well, maybe I should change my bow, maybe I'll change my dress. And then so she starts to work harder and harder to be seen. And it's really not that at all. So I hope that helps too with people listening to this, because I think it gives a really good idea of how we put meaning to it at a very young age. And it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault.
No, because none of the adults are conscious of the reaction that it's embedding in her.
Correct. Yeah. And
Okay.
it's so, even I had a thing, Pamela, where I said a thing in my book where I didn't think I was any good at maths. I thought I was terrible. And I was told that. I remember being told that by my ex-husband. That's how long it had been thrown at me. Right, and just told upon me. And then you have children, and I was like, oh my gosh, well, I can help them in kindergarten, I think. Like, I seriously didn't know. Like, I didn't know how bad I was, because I just kept being told. So I thought, well, I must be not good at it, because it keeps telling me, and
It's
I
so
trust.
obvious to everyone else.
Yeah, it was just, I know. I was like, oh my gosh. So what I decided to do as my children got older, they were asking, with the homework and stuff. And I thought, well, I need to find out. See, this is a thing you need to take a bit more responsibility on. It's like, you need to find out for yourself if that's actually your truth. You really do. And so I did. So I signed up to this online college thing where you'd have somebody, whatever subject you were wanting to learn in. And normally, I guess it would be for helping people at school, right? The kids. So I signed up, and I had my first lesson on my laptop. I was in my office, and I remember my whole body reacting. Like, I was like, I have no idea what's going to happen here. And I think I was in my 40s at the time, early 40s. And there was a young woman, just like how you and I are, on like a Zoom. She was about 23. She was at uni. She was a top student. She was beautiful. And all I wanted to do was grab the top of that laptop and shut it down. I burst into tears. I felt so low, and so it was a good experience, but it was really hard. I remember it being really hard. And I think I stopped for about 10 minutes, and she said, look, she was at 23. She's like, it's fine. It's fine. Let's have a look. Where do you want to start? I said, I want to start from the beginning. I literally wanted to start from kindergarten, because I needed to build those blocks. So I did, and we were together for about 4 months or something, and I actually realized I actually was pretty good at maths. and and that allowed me, I loved numbers, which took me into numerology, as you know, and I love numbers, and now, I work with numbers a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm a very successful woman. This is not just my only business. I have other businesses that I run, and who would have thought?
Yeah. Well, and I think what happens too is that we have that information that's input, and then it gets reinforced, but then we believe it. And because we believe it, whatever we believe is true.
Correct.
Right. And so until we change our belief system around something, which is what you did, and I was chuckling at the beginning of you telling that story because I knew the ending. I'm trying not to laugh. It's like, that part's not funny. That is really
No,
silly.
it is, because I know that you know it, because it is. It's like it's like, how can we allow somebody else to impose that belief on us, right? And that's really, really helped me. Like, as soon as I did that, it was different. Now, I won't lie to you, I couldn't help the children when they were in their very higher states of their education, and we got a tutor in for that. That's absolutely, totally cool by me, because I didn't want to love maths to that extent. It
Well,
wasn't that.
and we didn't learn it, right? So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't learn algebra and calculus and all of that. And my son loved calculus. And I'm just like, can't
Yeah.
help. Luckily he got it. I didn't need to get it, but there's certain levels where it's right to bring the tutor in. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, definitely. And I had no worries about that. It was just, I don't know, it dissolved. And it was so empowering to have that. And I really took that into every other part of my life. And even to the point where if I didn't know it, if I wasn't sure how to work that out, I would be able to go through a process to work it out
Yeah.
rather than have the belief I can't work it out or have a go. And if I still struggle in, I find someone to help me.
Hmm.
Right. And that was huge.
Yeah. And I think even if with the power of language is asking for help.
Yes,
Right?
definitely.
In that, one of the things that I like to tell, and especially girlfriends who are beautiful givers, they give me gifts, they buy me things, they want to take me to lunch, they have, oh, this doesn't fit me anymore, would you like this? Like they just give. And I have one girlfriend in particular who is a giver but not a receiver, and I was giving her something and she goes, oh no, like, no, you can keep. I go, you know how much you love giving? Yeah. I said, well, when I'm giving to you, you're actually denying me the joy that you feel in giving by not
That
receiving.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once we get that, then we can also put ourselves um in somebody else's shoes and understand that everything is two ways. All of our language that is exchanged is two ways, right?
Yeah.
And co-creation, it's a co-creation for a reason.
Exactly. It's the way we communicate. That's why language was invented, so that we can communicate. And I know language has changed over time. Words have been taken in and out of the dictionary, but it is the way that we communicate, right? And it's not that there needs to be so much either, but I love what you just said. It's so true that we deny other people's language in that way,
Yeah.
because it's, the receiving and giving. And I think that's yeah, very potent to say that here. Yeah, definitely. I
What I
like.
love about language, it's like the rest of life, it evolves. And so, of course, there's new words that come in and new words that aren't as relevant anymore. There's also words that get changed for
Yeah.
specific reasons over
Mhm.
time. And I think one of the things that's happening now is we're coming back to the true essence of some words, right?
Yeah.
Words that are really important for us to acknowledge as the true meaning of them, right?
Yeah.
Instead of it being whitewashed, right?
Yeah. And I feel like the language that we use and the meaning that we put to it is really part of your own journey in understanding who you are. Because when you understand the language that you're using and the meaning that you're actually putting behind it, it can bring about so much change. You can understand that perhaps you're saying a certain thing to gain a certain thing. And you can go, okay, that's not actually serving me. Why am I, you can really understand that language is so healing.
Mhm. And one of the experiences that I had was I was married for 20 years, and the person that I was with liked things their way. And I can remember so many times that I would think, oh, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And then after I ended that relationship, I realized all those times when I didn't do what I wanted to do and did what he wanted to do, and that it was fine. I was actually, when I was saying it doesn't matter, I was saying that I don't matter. And that was such a huge revelation for myself. Like it
That
makes
is so
me like I can feel the tears because how many people say those kinds of things to themselves and they don't realize the internal hurt that they're doing to themselves by one,
correct.
not standing up for themselves, not speaking up for themselves, for saying it doesn't matter, it's okay, whatever that is, it's building and that erodes your self-esteem.
Layers and layers and layers. And the thing is, you do matter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we
I mean,
all do. We all do.
yeah,
Like I wrote
that's
in, I wrote in,
contagious. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
that's okay. I was just gonna say, it's like when I wrote in the back of the book about my revelation about jigsaw puzzles, because for the longest time, I've realized we all have a piece of the puzzle and every piece matters because it's not complete without all of our pieces. But I also realized when I was doing jigsaw puzzles, I was with somebody who loved doing them. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like doing those too. And I recognized that as you're laying it out, your subconscious mind is mapping everything. And when you put one piece in and you look at it, you look at the shape, you look at all the colors, that's your conscious mind trying to fit it in somewhere. And then all of a sudden you're just putting down 10, 15, 20 pieces and you're like, whoa, wow. But it's because you've already mapped it, right?
Yes.
And so the more connected we are to each other and to the people that we're here to serve and the people who we're here to, have relationships with, the easier those pieces fit.
100%, yeah. And that's where you come into flow, when you come into your discernment, you come into all those really self-empowering things that perhaps we didn't get and they were shut down. And if you're being integral with you,
Integral.
thank you,
Yeah.
with you, then it shows. It will just emanate out. And I also share with people, you are responsible for you. You are responsible for your language and the way that you say. No matter how much you may say something to somebody, it could trigger them because of their stuff. But you're always responsible for you. You're always how you deliver it, how you say it, and the reaction from somebody else you're not responsible for.
Yeah. And the intention you have with what you're saying. But that's also tied into how conscious we are when we're saying something.
Yeah, and it is about being mindful. That's life, isn't it? Being mindful, being conscious, and that's why I love the language, and it's definitely embedded in me, for sure. I get it a lot. People say you're very mindful about how I'm happy to pause for a minute. I'm really, it's just beautiful to be able to be articulate in some ways. Even though sometimes I mess some words up, I don't mind about that.
Yeah.
It does,
Integral is, yeah. It's like,
it's just sometimes whatever, my brain and whatever's not happening. But that's fun. That's fun for me.
the beautiful thing is, and this happened in a conversation this morning with a client. I was looking for a certain phrase and I was like, couldn't come, it wouldn't come. And then she's going, oh, do you mean? I go, yeah, that word. Because now we're in this mastermind of our minds, right? So when we're creating a third mind, there's more language that comes through, and that frequency, whatever, you're coming in with your frequency and your frequency of language. I'm coming in with mine, and we're creating a new frequency with the combination of the two. Right?
Yeah.
So beautiful. Yeah.
I just wanted to touch back on also like this internal language that we have, because I think that's really a huge part that people don't realize they're having this internal language. And, we're always reflecting, everybody's reflecting to us, parts of us that, it's like water really. We're having a reflection with somebody else. And we could in ourselves say, oh, I don't like that about that person, or that. But generally it's a reflection of what we're actually reflecting on ourselves. So it's really important to, I find every day, is to think about what that internal language is going on, because the body doesn't know, the physical body doesn't know that you're perhaps talking about somebody else. It actually thinks you're talking about yourself, right? So that's really huge to, I think, to just let that sit and to think about that the body doesn't know any different. That you're talking about something else, or you're saying that, that tree is ugly, that tree is beautiful, that tree, it doesn't know, the body doesn't know that. The body thinks that you're talking about yourself. So be very mindful. And
Very great. That's great insight. Great. That's beautiful insight. Yeah.
because the body will react. If the body thinks, that's, I'm going to use a tree as an analogy, that tree is ugly, it thinks you're saying to yourself you're ugly, so it doesn't like it. It gets sad.
Yeah.
And
And
it can get, well,
prints, right? Like the
shrinks.
imagery shrinks as opposed to when you say that tree is beautiful. So that's brilliant because how often we'll go out and we'll look, like I live at the lake, right? So it's like I go out and I see all the sparkles on the lake and it's so beautiful and I feel the beauty of it. And I go, oh, I love living here. What my body is saying is I love living here. Thank you. Thank you for that. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's a huge, huge insight. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the other thing I've just learned recently, and I think we know these things, but then somebody says it in a special way and it lands, is that people will believe 50% of what you say, but 100% of what your body says. So
Yeah,
it's right.
it makes total sense. Especially when we're working with our nervous system. So, which is what I work with a lot in my work here, which is always to do about language. So when somebody's coming in for a yin yoga that I'm teaching, it's like we're going to leave everything else out there, that internal dialogue. We're going to just let it go. We're just going to love it and let it go, whatever happens. And come into a much more of the breath, coming into much more of alignment of love and more compassion. Like I said before, changing the language. You don't have to go from 0 to 100. You can say, I'm getting better. I'm getting better at noticing my language. I'm getting better at noticing how my body feels when I say certain words or when I have a certain internal dialogue. I'm getting better. Like I'm getting better. I like that. For me, that sounds great. But whatever works for you that allows you, because sometimes it is hard to shift from one emotion to another. Right, so sometimes if you can find yourself on a much better emotion, and I find that using that gentle language allows you to just shift slightly. Just try it, just practice with it, because it's all a practice. There's no magic pill, and whatever you're doing is not right or wrong, so it doesn't matter, so you can let that go. You know,
Mm.
it's a process and a practice, a moment by moment practice,
And
and just know.
yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
that's good saying it's different for everyone.
It's different for everyone, and just know whatever is coming at you too is somebody else's perspective, somebody else's beliefs, and their own journey. What we've just spoken about, from me being an 8-year-old girl to being in my 40s, not knowing if I'm any good at math. Everybody's got their journey and their own stuff, and if they're not awakening to that, if they're not practicing in that area, show them love, because that is an aspect that they're showing to you that you also have had or going through or learning and getting better at, and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your beautiful stories in your chapter. Is there anything that we can leave with the audience that you would like to share with them?
Yeah, just be kind and loving to yourself. Think about the words that you're saying has a real internal resonance within you. So I would just practice learning to change that in a better way. Just I'm getting better. Whatever that is for you, find that word, find that wand, and just change it. Make the words turn into butterfly that don't no longer serve you, and bring in that beautiful peace. It is, I promise you, it is doable. It
Mhm.
is doable.
We're here now and we've gone through our own journeys and it does work. And it is a beautiful gift to yourself to just stop and hear yourself and to see yourself. But the other one last thing I would like to say is that, we want people to see and hear us, but what we really want is for ourselves to see and hear us.
Perfect. Got goosebumps, the
Yeah.
truth goosebumps on that one.
So can you share with people how they can get a hold of you? Where can
Yeah, you
people
can
find
go
you?
on. Yeah, they can find me on my website, which is essentialwellnesswithin.com.au, or on Facebook, Essential Wellness Within. I do run some free meditations around that kind of internal language and stuff like that. So you can hop on there, join us. There'll be some free stuff out there, and yeah, it's still in cultivating aspect here, but yeah.
Yeah.
Come join us. I'd love to see you. That'd be beautiful. Thank you.
I will share everything in the write-up
Great.
show.
That'd be
Right. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
so beautiful.
It's been beautiful. Thanks, Pamela.